Good morning, everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Senator Phil Berger, who is the President Pro Tem of the North Carolina State Senate, who has been a long-time supporter of charter schools and school choice in the state. There are a number of pieces of legislation that have made the schools stronger and better because of him and his office and his support. So first and foremost, thank you very much for everything you've done, not only for charter schools, but for school choice in general, which is part and parcel with the, I don't like to use the term movement, because the whole premise of the charter school marketplace is that we've kind of moved on from being a movement to now we're $1 billion industry. And we need to start treating it as an industry and elevate from a movement status to an industry. So again, thank you for your time. And if you would mind just like tell us more about yourself and so on.
Sure, Paul. And Paul, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and to your audience. But as Paul indicated, my name is Phil Berger. I serve in the North Carolina Senate, currently hold the position of President Pro Tem of the Senate, have been a member of the Senate since first elected in 2000. My district is comprised of all of Rockingham County and parts of Guilford County, primarily the rural parts of Guilford County. As Paul indicated, I have from the beginning been very supportive of legislation to give parents the option to make decisions or more decisions as far as the education of their children. And of course, one of the first things that we did was dealing with the cap on charter schools in North Carolina and lifting that cap and allowing parents and interested members of the community to organize charter schools and to utilize the tax dollars that are collected and allocated for education to educate children in charter school environments. So I think it's been a great success here in North Carolina. And there are other things that we have done, as Paul has indicated, that have worked to empower parents to make those kinds of decisions that they know are best for their children.
Well, there's an old adage that says, you may not want to be involved in politics, but politics is always going to be involved in you. And I've kind of bastardized that term. It's really, I didn't say it correctly, but the point is there. If you are involved in the charter school world or school choice, you are involved in politics in one way or another. You can't avoid that. So this past session, the General Assembly, you passed some very solid legislation for school choice, the Charter School Review Board, other very positive things for school choice as a whole. And I'll just qualify again. School choice, you've got home schools, private schools, district schools, charter schools. We all need to improve. So the competition of a charter school with a home school or private school, that's a good thing because everybody ups their game if there's competition. So with that, with the improved competition, we've got legislation that'll come next year because we have an election this year, obviously. And we've interviewed Lieutenant Governor Robinson that is running for governor. And one of the things he had mentioned was restructuring the State Board of Education, which is what I've always kind of said is like the fourth branch of government, where they kind of do their own thing away and apart from the law of the General Assembly. So from a legislative standpoint, I'm wondering just how would one go about, is that a statutory thing where you could restructure the State Board to make them elected people and then maybe have the superintendent work for them? How does, if you wouldn't mind educating how that might look?
So Paul, there was a bill that was introduced in the House to address that particular issue. And it was introduced as a proposed constitutional amendment. Mm-hmm. That's one of the challenges that we have with reference to the State Board of Education is the current makeup and the way the members of the State Board are selected is part of our state constitution. And so in order for a constitutional amendment to pass, first we have to have an agreement as to what the change would be. Mm-hmm. Then that amendment has to pass by 3/5 of the members of the General Assembly, both the House and the Senate, and then it goes to the people to vote on. And there's been a lot of discussion over the years as to how we can make changes to governance of education in North Carolina, and there's not been a lot of consensus on what to do. There's a lot of consensus about what we've got as a broken system, but exactly how to fix that is where we're not quite getting folks on the same page.
That's an interesting path to take. Maybe next year, just to throw it out, maybe the General Assembly, if we get a new governor, might put something together to really kind of put some teeth to that, maybe.
Yeah. So I think clearly if we had a situation where the state board was aligned more with the General Assembly as far as policy is concerned, because the General Assembly is the policy setting portion of state government, it would, I think, have the potential to be a lot smoother. I think at the present time, you have a governor who, from a policy standpoint, is totally opposed to much of the school choice efforts that we have initiated and passed. In fact, those have generally been passed over a veto from the current governor. And so that disconnect between the policymaking arm and the executive branch is part of the problem that we have. And while we elect a superintendent of public instruction in North Carolina, that person, whoever it might be, is really hamstrung in many respects as to what they can do to change things, particularly in the nature of trying to do things that the state board itself would be opposed to. So it really is a broken system, and trying to fix it is something that's been a priority of folks for a number of years, but we've just not been able to get the kind of consensus as to what the change that would be put before the people will look like.
Well, we just obviously had a primary that was contentious for that role, the state superintendent, and we interviewed Secretary Truitt also, Superintendent Truitt, excuse me. And a lot of people don't understand that the superintendent doesn't make policy, that the superintendent reports essentially to the state board and the General Assembly. So they're in a pickle. And so when people get upset at the superintendent for not hammering things away, it's kind of a misnomer, because that role, you've got to thread a very delicate needle, and to go in heavy-handed as superintendent, then basically you're kind of in no man's land, because the people that work at DPI, they're career people. They've got their job, they've got their marching orders, and that's a real job where you have to really be able to walk a tightrope. And I don't think most people in the state understand that. They think that the superintendent can just go in and ride shotgun and do what they want to do, when in fact it's a delicate balance out there.
Well, again, I think it's that question of alignment between the policy making body in state government and that particular agency, and so clearly having a superintendent of public instruction that has the bully pulpit, so to speak, and can speak directly to voters is helpful. It is something that that there's very little actual power to change policy in that position, and it's something that clearly we need to get an alignment between the policymaking branch and that agency.
I remember when Buddy Collins was on the state board, and Buddy would always say, which was so true, good policy isn't left or right. Good policy towards education, especially, is just good policy. And if you're doing what's right for our community and for our children, there should not be a Democrat or Republican label on it, because it's just the right thing. It's kind of like opening the door for somebody. It's not a partisan thing. It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, so I think at its core, from a philosophical standpoint, the difference between Republicans and Democrats on policy is that Republicans look to the school system and look to whether or not that system is actually being responsive to the customers, the students, and the parents. And the Democrats, all too often, they look to the school system and they're more concerned about being responsive to the bureaucracy and the administrations. And I just think that in anything that is done where you're dealing with the public, making sure that you're doing things that are responsive to the public will is critically important.
Yes. I think that kind of encapsulates why we're all here. I know you've got a very busy schedule today, so I just want to say thank you very much for all you do for the children and for school choice. And I know it's trite. It's like it's for the children. Well, it's not only for the children, it's really for our society and our community, because what we do with our kids, I mean, we see the results of what we do with our kids in the entire society at large. So it's a very important thing, and thank you for all you've done for school choice and charter schools in particular.
Well, thank you, Paul, and I thank everyone who has an interest in making sure that parents do have those options that are out there, and the people that have been champions within the charter school movement are people that really are doing it for the right reasons.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Everybody, thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.